Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Marie. I'm a graphic designer, and in today's Adobe Illustrator tutorial I will show you how to create this 3D mug with coffee. Let's get started. First, don't forget to hit subscribe or follow me on Facebook. So open Adobe Illustrator and create a new document. We're going to start by using the rectangle tool to create the base for our 3D mug. So I'm just going to create a rectangle for now and curve the bottom corner here, make it round, and this is pretty much already the top part of our mug. Then I'm going to use the rectangle tool again and add another rectangle on the bottom, which is going to be the bottom part of the mug. I'm going to select everything and go to Pathfinder Unite. For this project, we are only going to design half of the mug because we're going to use the 3D revolve effect. So you don't have to be detailed, but you can go ahead and fix some little things like round this bottom corner if you like, but it's not necessary. Now I'm going to use the rectangle shape again, create a new rectangle, and again curve just the bottom angle here. And this shape here we're going to use is a cutout of our previous shape. So select both, go to Pathfinder minus front. Again, I'm going to round these two top angles here, but it's not necessary. And this is our shape for the mug. So now I'm going to select it and only use the fill color. I'm going to put the stroke to none, and I'm going to use a light gray. While the shape is selected, go to 3D and object here and click on revolve. Then we're going to change to right edge, and here is our mug. Very simple. So I just updated my Adobe Illustrator. I'm still on my 7-day trial, and there's all these new awesome features like materials that I didn't have before that I am still exploring. So let's see if they have kind of a ceramic material, because our mug, well, you can make it of any color or material you like, but I'm going to try and give it kind of a white ceramic effect. I don't see it, but they do have some marble materials. So play around and see what you like. If you do not have the materials, don't worry, because we can proceed without adding one of these preset materials. So I'm just going to change it back to the default for now. And another cool new feature is this one here, where you can add kind of a metallic effect using these parameters here. So I'm just going to play around with this. And the lighting. So we have the presets. You can choose one of these, or you can go ahead and customize it by moving the light around. So before I proceed, I'm going to tip the cup over, because I want to create kind of a falling cup with splashing coffee out of it. So I'm going to tip it over a little bit like this, and then now I'm going to play around with the light. So let's see. If you have like an older version of Adobe Illustrator, I did create another tutorial of a cup, kind of like this one, only it's straight, it's not tipped over, and you can click the link to follow that one if you prefer. So now we're going to add the handle. I'm going to use the ellipse tool and create a circle. I'm going to put a black stroke so you can see it better for now. Then I'm going to pull this anchor point down a little bit, kind of trying to make the handle shape here. I'm going to use the scissor tool and cut out this part of our shape that we don't need, and it already kind of looks like a handle. So I'm going to pull this a little bit down. There we go. You can make it very simple, like just plain round if you like. So now I'm going to select it, and I'm going to go to the stroke panel over here and make the stroke width thicker. I'm going to make the rounded ends, and if you like, just to personalize it a little bit more, you can use the width tool where you can make certain parts of your stroke wider or thinner. So like I can make the end wider and then make it thinner right afterwards. I'm going to speed this up just a little bit because I'm just playing around with the width. I'm trying to make it as similar as a real handle as possible. So there we go. Okay, and then once you kind of get the shape that you like, you select it, go to Object, Expand Appearance. So now that we've converted our stroke into a shape, if you like, you can do what I'm doing, is creating a rectangle, because I'm going to cut off the ends here to make them straight instead of round, but this isn't necessary. This is just something that I want to do because it's the effect that I want to give it. But as I said, you can just proceed like it is and leave the round ends. So if you like, you just add the rectangle like I did, select both shapes, go to Pathfinder -front, and it will cut off the ends. So now I'm going to use the eyedropper tool and give this shape the same color as our mug. Go to 3D, and this time I'm going to use inflate. I love this new inflate effect. If you have an older version, you can just use extrude and give it a very low depth. Okay, so now I'm just going to try to position this next to the mug so that it seems like a real handle. So I'm going to scale it down because it's kind of big, and you can rotate it. So play with the handle so you get the right perspective, and attach it to the mug. So there we go. I'm going to turn the 3D here. Now position it there. And if you don't like the way it looks, you can just go select, arrange, send to back. That way you don't see the attachment. So now I'm going to go ahead and speed this up a little bit because I'm just playing around with the 3D here. I'm moving the positions. I'm going to go over the materials again. And the lighting, if you like, you can add an extra light like I just did. Lower the intensity, and or just this dot represents the light, so you just move this around to change the lighting. And if you like, you can add a second light with the plus sign. Also, if you're having trouble with any of your shapes, the mug or the handle, you can use the direct selection tool and move the anchor points around to modify your 3D simulation. You can also remove or add anchor points. Okay, and once we're done with the mug and the handle, we can continue with the plate. So again, I'm going to use the rectangle tool to create two thin rectangles that overlap a little bit. I'm going to change the stroke to black again so you can see better. So I created two rectangles. One is the top part of the plate and the other one is the bottom part of the plate. So again, I'm going to round the bottom angle here. And then select both shapes. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. I'm going to select both shapes, go to Pathfinder and Unite. Again, we're just going to create half of the plate because we're going to use the revolve effect again. So I'm going to make this part here of the plate flat. And again, you can add like little details like curve some points if you like. If not, it's not necessary. Now I made a dragged copy, which I'm going to kind of put over. Select both shapes, go to Pathfinder minus front. I don't know if you can see the plate in this shape, but consider like a two-dimension view of half a plate. So this is kind of like what it would look like. I'm going to use the direct selection tool to fix some of the anchor points here. I'm trying to give the inside of the plate a smooth lining, even though it's going to go down a little bit on the inside, which is here. As I said before, you can always modify the shape after the 3D effect, so don't worry. I'm going to round these two angles here. Since it's not letting me round one of the points, it's probably because there are two anchor points, one on top of the other. So I'm going to delete one. Okay, there it is. So I'm going to use the pen tool minus anchor point. I'm going to select both of these, and now I was able to round them. Alright, so I'm going to select this shape, use the eyedropper tool to give it the same color as the mug, and go to 3D object and revolve. Again, I'm going to put the right edge, and here is our 3D plate. I'm going to speed this part up again because otherwise the video is going to be way too long. And I'm just moving some anchor points around to change the shape of the plate. So I'm making it more flat on the end here. And here is the plate the way I wanted it. So now I'm just going to move it into position. And then again, you can play with the lighting, and if you have this newer version of Adobe Illustrator, you can add this metallic effect. Oops, I accidentally removed the 3D, so I'm going to go Control Z. There's my plate back. And as I said before, I'm using white as the color, but you can give this any color you like. This new version of Adobe Illustrator also has this shadows effect, which automatically adds the shadow to 3D, which is pretty cool. We can't use it for this project because since our objects are kind of like flying, the shadow would be wrong. but if our plate was flat, we could use the shadow effect. So I'm going to move the plate up and go arrange, send to back. I'm going to play around with the position here. Tip it over a little bit more so it looks like it's falling. And there we go. If you need to, you can fix some more anchor points. I'm going to make the center of the plate a little bit wider here by moving these over. Alrighty, we're halfway through the video. Now, well, we've already done the mug, the handle, and the plate. All we have to do is add the coffee or tea on the inside. So I'm playing around with some features here. The light, I'm fixing the lighting. If you like, you can change the color. As I said before, I'm using white, but you can use any color you like. Also, I'm going to see now if I can find a material that I like, kind of like this marble effect. Perfect. I'm going to apply it to all three objects, and I'm going to fix the lighting a little bit just so the contrast looks good. Don't forget to save as you go along. You don't want to lose all of your work. Okay, so now that we've finished the objects, we can go ahead and add the liquid. So I'm going to use the ellipse tool to create an ellipse. I'm going to zoom in here and position this inside of the cup. You can put it pretty much at whatever height you want, depending how full you want the cup to look. Then I'm going to make a dragged copy upwards so that it lines up with the outside of the cup. And I'm going to select both shapes and use the shape builder tool and delete the two parts that we don't need and create this inside here. I'm going to change the color to an orange. You can decide what color to use if you want it to look like coffee or tea or water, whatever. Or you can even try to find, again, if you have the materials, because you might not have them, something over here that looks kind of like a liquid. Okay, so as I said, if you want, you can use a material, or you can use a fill color, or if you want to make it a little bit more realistic, you can use a gradient color. So I'm going to go here to Window and open the gradient panel. I'm not going to add the gradient because I'm going to be adding coffee that comes out kind of like it's spilling. But if you want to stop it here, you can just add a gradient or change the the opacity by lowering it, or change the what's it called, the style to multiply. So I'm not going to add any shadows because I'm going to use black as the background color. So I just added a black rectangle to the back. But if I had a lighter color, I'd probably add some shadow. So now comes the fun part. So let's grab our pen tool and start drawing all these weird splattery shapes. So I'm going to try to do this as quick as possible because I don't want this tutorial to last forever. Let me change the stroke to white so you can see it. So I'm just gonna like click some random anchor points here and there, turn them. The weirder the shape, the better, I guess. Okay, so this is gonna be the first shape. I'm gonna go ahead and speed this up again. The only thing I did here was change the fill color. So now I'm going to use the pen tool again and add a second weird looking shape on this other side. And I'm also going to create a third shape over here. And I'm going to put this behind the other two. So I selected the first two shapes and right click, bring to front. So now I'm going to use the mesh tool, and since the messier the better, I guess, I'm just going to add some random points because these shapes are kind of weird. So when we're going to add the mesh lines, they're going to be all curvy, but it's better for the effect that we want. So I'm just going to add some random points here and there, and then I'll fix the color afterwards. So if you don't know how to use the mesh tool, okay, on these weird looking shapes, it's probably hard to learn, but it adds these lines on the inside here. And you can select the dots and change the color. So instead of using like a uniform gradient, you can add custom shading to your shapes. If you want to know more, you can go ahead and watch my tutorial on the mesh tool. So again, I'm going to speed this up a little bit since I'm just going to be using the mesh tool on these other two shapes as well. So as I said, I'm just selecting the shape and adding some random dots everywhere because the shapes are weird, so the lines are going to be weird. But as I said, it's better for the effect that we want. So then, I'm having a problem with the colors here. So then I'm just going to use the direct selection tool after I add the mesh lines. Select the individual dots. The individual dots, and change the color. So I'm adding like some darker shades on the outside, a lighter shade in the middle. I'm not gonna add any white for now. I did there by mistake, but I'm gonna change this because I'm gonna add the white afterwards separately. So now I'm kind of just adding some light and dark brown everywhere, kind of random. So now I'm gonna show you something very cool and simple. So use the ellipse tool to create a circle, and then select the circle and use the mesh tool to add 4 lines. Then select this dot here and make it lighter, and then this other one and make it a little bit darker. And here we have our coffee drip with the lighting, and it was very simple. Okay, so I'm just gonna make dragged copies of this. I'm just gonna modify the shape and rotate them, modify the size, but I'm just gonna make dragged copies everywhere to add these little coffee drops to make it a little bit more realistic. Don't worry, we're almost done. So now after adding these coffee drops everywhere, all we have left to do is the white highlights. So to add the white, I'm going to create a new layer. You can always merge it later if you like. I'm going to lock the bottom one so things don't get too messy. And then I'm going to use the pen tool. Well, let's start with the pen tool. Change the stroke to white. And the stroke to white. And I'm just going to draw like a line. Change the style, the profile style, so it's thin on the edges. I just made some dragged copies. They're all alike. And then I'm going to select all of them, go to Object, Expand Appearance, then Effect and Blur. Gaussian blur. You can decide how much you want to blur the lines. Okay. Then I'm going to select them again and change the style to soft light. And this is how I'm going to add highlights all over the liquid here. So I'm also going to do the same thing with the ellipse tool. So I'm going to use the pen tool to create lines here, there, and everywhere. And then the ellipse tool when I want to create like some little circle highlights. So I'm going to create some lines that follow the border a little bit, and then some in the middle here, just to give it some depth. Over here I'm going to use the circles, just because the shape is different, so the circles are easier. Okay, and then once you've added everything, I'm going to select first of all the lines. I'm going to change the width and the style, and then go to Object, Expand Appearance. Then I'm going to select everything, go to Blur, Gaussian Blur, and do the same thing as before, and then change the style to Soft Light. As I said, I tried to do this as quick as possible. Obviously, if you spend more time with the liquid, the more time you put into it, the better it will look. I didn't want this tutorial to go on forever. It's already long enough as it is. But I really hope you enjoyed it and you learned something new. If you enjoy my videos, don't forget to subscribe to my channel or follow me on Facebook and stay updated with all of my latest tutorials. Ciao!